If you're a caregiver, you already know the weight of that responsibility. I mean, it is a role that's just filled with love, but let's be honest, it can also be incredibly demanding. It can leave you feeling completely and totally overwhelmed. So what if there was a different way? Today, we're going to explore a path forward, one that doesn't mean you have to do it all by yourself. You know, this thought right here, this is something so many caregivers feel deep down, but they're often afraid to say it out loud. It feels like you're admitting you failed, right? But it's not. It's actually a moment of real clarity. And this explainer? Well, it's for anyone who's ever had that feeling. To really get what this journey is like, let's dive into a story that might feel pretty familiar. We're going to talk about Sarah. Like so many people, she found herself becoming her father's main caregiver, and that role just grew and grew in ways she absolutely never saw coming. Yeah, look at how this happens. It's so gradual, isn't it? For Sarah, it started out so simply, just popping in a check on her dad in the evenings. But pretty soon, that turned into managing his medications and making sure he had all his meals. Then it was driving him to every single doctor's appointment. And before she even knew it, she was handling literally every bill and all the paperwork. It's this slow creep that can just sneak up on anyone. And what happens when you pour everything into someone else? Well, as her father's world became her entire focus, her own world, it just started to disappear. She stopped seeing her friends, she let go of hobbies that used to bring her so much joy. She just felt her own life kind of slipping away under the weight of it all. And then, the breaking point, a crisis. One evening, her father got confused and wandered outside into the cold. After all the panic and the fear were over, Sarah just sat in her car, and she finally admitted to herself what she'd been avoiding for so long. She just couldn't do it alone anymore. Sarah's story, it's not just her story. It really shines a light on a struggle that is so common for people in a caregiving role. It's all about confronting this myth, this idea that you have to be some kind of solo hero on this journey. This right here, this is the big turning point. Really letting this sink in. The idea that reaching out for help isn't a sign of weakness, but it's actually a profound act of wisdom and responsibility. Man, that changes everything. So let's look at this shift in mindset, because it's huge. On one side, you've got the myth. It's this isolating belief that you have to carry the entire burden yourself. And look, it often comes from a place of deep love, but also maybe a fear of being a burden on others. But then, on the other side, you have the reality, the sustainable way forward. And that's recognizing that caregiving is a team sport. Asking for help isn't just good for you, it's a responsible part of making sure you're providing the best care possible. Okay, so once we accept that we need help, where do we actually find it? The good news is that these support systems, these lifelines, they're often all around us. The next step is just learning how to spot them and tap into them. And as you can see, your support network can come from a ton of different places. It usually starts with family, friends, and neighbors. The people closest to you. But it also goes way beyond that, to faith groups, local community organizations, and even professional services that are designed specifically for this. One of the most important services out there is something called respite care. Just think of it like a strategic pause, a timeout. And it is not a luxury, okay? It's an essential tool that gives you, the caregiver, a temporary break so you can rest and recharge, all while knowing your loved one is still being cared for. So what does that actually look like in the real world? Well, it can be all sorts of things. It could be an adult deprogram or maybe a short-term stay in a care facility. It might even be as simple as having someone come to your home for just a few hours. The goal is just to give you a break, no matter how big or small that break is. All right, so knowing help is out there is one thing, but actually asking for it, that can feel like a massive hurdle. So let's break it down into some simple, practical steps that can help you lighten your load without feeling totally overwhelmed by the process. Here's a super simple 3-step plan to get started. First, accept your limits. You gotta just acknowledge that you can't do everything, because nobody can. Second, ask for help early. Don't wait until you're at your breaking point. And third, and this one is so key, be specific. People genuinely want to help you, but they often just don't know how. So if you create a simple list with really concrete tasks like, could you pick up groceries, or could you come visit for 2 hours on Tuesday? It gives them a clear yes or no, and it makes it so much easier for them to pitch in. This whole idea, it's not new. At all. In fact, the wisdom of relying on each other is a timeless principle. It's about understanding that as humans, we are fundamentally built for community, especially when we're facing life's biggest challenges. This piece of ancient advice speaks directly to that. The idea of carrying each other's burdens isn't just some nice, fluffy sentiment. It's really a foundational instruction for how to live together in a community. It pretty much says we were never meant to go it alone. And that really gets to the heart of it all. The huge task of caregiving fits perfectly inside this principle. It is a burden that is truly meant to be shared, to be supported, and to be carried by more than just one person. And this quote, this one explains the why behind it so perfectly. A support system makes the entire journey safer. It's that simple. Having someone else there creates a safety net, and it strengthens both you and the person you're caring for. If one person stumbles, the other one is right there to help them up. And finally, please remember this. Caring for yourself is not selfish. It is a necessary part of the job. You have to pay attention to your own well-being, stay connected with your people, and give yourself permission to just be human, to be tired. You absolutely cannot pour from an empty cup. So let's end with a simple, really actionable question. Just look at everything on your plate. What is just one thing, one small task that you could let someone else handle this week? Starting small, that's the first step toward building a path that's more sustainable for you and for the person you love.